Hello everybody, here I am today under a coconut tree. This is a coconut tree across the street from my house. It's my neighbor's coconut tree. When we both moved in around the same time, we were both so excited to plant coconut trees, and we both did. I thought coconut trees was a great crop to have in front of the house because once it gets high, it's a little difficult for people to come and just take the coconuts without being seen. So I wanted to have a good amount of coconut trees in the front of my house. I love coconuts. When I first moved into my house, there was a time where I thought I would only have coconut trees and I was going to fill up my whole yard with just a bunch of coconut trees because I love consuming coconuts. Well, today's video is a difficult video to make because I planted when I moved into my property 6 or 7 coconut trees. And a few days ago, I just cut down my last coconut tree. Now, I know when many people hear, they say, why would you cut down a coconut tree? I mean, I had great coconuts. They were so delicious. I'm going to show you the last tree that I cut down, but I want to explain why. As a warning for those of you that get a property and you're planning on planting coconut trees, some of the things to be thoughtful of, which I wasn't, and led me to having to cut them down. As you can see here, my neighbor's property has 1, 2, 3, 4 going down right here in a row. And on this side, he has some trees. So you see, this tree over here is a mango tree, and it's doing okay, but it's still getting shaded out by the coconut tree. On this side, he has nothing. This is just a driveway. Now, it's whenever you plant a coconut tree in a driveway, there's always an issue, possibly with the coconuts falling on cars, but coconuts are pretty well. We have, he has some trees still in front of his property. He has 4 more trees. Me and him love coconuts, and he did a great job. The area is okay. My biggest issue and concern was not coconuts falling on cars. I did have a concern later on about coconut trees and the shade, but the sun he has is on a different side, so it's okay. My biggest concern was when I show you my yard, I like to plant stuff around the coconut tree because I only had such a small space. And I have no problem getting a really big coconut tree and taking a really big long pole with a saw at the end and cutting it and having the coconuts drop. No problem with that. The problem is if there's something on the ground near it, then it becomes a problem. And I didn't anticipate that when I originally planted my coconut trees. Another thing I heard of, and I'm not sure if it's true or not because I've had mixed opinions about it, the roots of the coconut tree grow really long out and they can really affect the things that are growing near the coconut tree. That has not been my personal experience because the things I plant near a coconut tree, and also as my friend planted this wonderful looking tree, the tree is growing fine. However, there are some people that say that the tree would grow a lot better if it wasn't near a coconut tree. So this coconut tree is in the front of the house. It's towards the street. A lot of the roots are going towards the street. So that's good. And it's getting good sun. It's not bad at all. This one, I think, is a dwarf coconut. Now, another thing I didn't know is I planted dwarf coconuts when I first moved into my house. Dwarf coconut trees are supposed to be smaller and stay smaller. Well, I thought they were going to always stay that small, and that's not what dwarf coconut tree means. Dwarf coconut means that you'll get coconuts at a younger age that are slower on the tree, but eventually they also will get tall and big. And that's what happened to my trees. I thought I was planting a dwarf coconut trees, but apparently they weren't because they were getting really big. So I'm going to show you here another tree here. Besides his cherry tree that's right next to this coconut tree, you can see even though it's not getting too much shade on the one side is growing great, and the other side, it had to stop growing because the coconut tree is right here. But more of a concern is right here in the background here, he has a cotton candy mango, which is looking really nice this year, but this one is getting shaded out and has not yet produced fruit. I think it's getting shaded out a little by the cherry mango, but a lot by the coconut tree. And once again, these aren't too close where it's going to affect it if the coconuts come down, but they look like dwarf trees. I can still reach them. They're not bad. I can get up there with a small ladder. Once you have to use a tall ladder to get up there, then it becomes more of a concern. Like I said, I go on the street coconut hunting. I knock on people's doors. They have huge trees. I got my long pole saw. No problem. I can do it. But when it's in my own house and I have other things planted around it, if it gets bigger than this, where I need a big saw pole, then I found out it created an issue. So let me show you on my property what I've done with my trees, and I'm also going to show you how I've cured the problem by planting some new trees. Okay, so here's my house now, and this is the front yard. I had 4 coconut trees in the front yard originally, and my goal was to have them all around the yard. The first one I thought had a disease at an early age, and I cut it out and I replanted a persimmon tree there. But that one was just shading up my whole yard. This one was shading my yard and my other plants. But this one I just recently cut down because not only was it getting so tall, but I planted things around it, and I couldn't, like I said, get the coconuts without those falling. So I had to cut that, and now I have no coconut trees in my yard. Here's one of the coconut trees that I just cut out right next to the cat. And so that being an issue, let me show you here what I decided to do with the coconut tree. This is dragon fruit, and I have dragon fruit growing up the tree stump of the coconut, and I'm going to put up here a crossbar, and while this will last, it might last 3 or 4 years, at least I'll have dragon fruit growing up it. But here's an example. You see I have my sapodilla tree, which I put this in after I cut this tree, not before, but it's still a great spot for the sapodilla tree. But if I would have had coconuts here, not only would it have been shading that out, but every time I cut the coconuts, bam, they could have fallen right on the tree, and that could have created an issue. Now this one that I cut, this one was just getting too tall. It was getting really tall, and I knew if I ever wanted to cut it in the future, it'd be an issue. Because again, like my neighbor, he could always cut it into the street or cut it into the driveway. But this one, if it's getting too tall, I can't cut it where it's going to fall on one of my trees. So I took the fence out and I actually cut this one into the street. I got great coconuts off it, and I'm not too happy that I had to do that, but I think it was a wise decision. Now coming over here, I had a coconut tree originally here when I first planted my trees. They were going around my whole yard in a square. This one, somebody told me might have had a disease because it wasn't looking too good, so I cut it out when it was relatively young. This one I just cut because the sun comes from that way, and it was totally shading my yard, and as well it was getting tall. And when I cut it, I was able to cut it down. At least I had room to cut it. But here I'm doing the dragon fruit. The dragon fruit loves the coconut to go up there, so that's going to be really nice. So I had 2 coconuts in my backyard, and just a couple of days ago I took out the last one, which was the best coconuts I've ever tasted. Let me show you why I did that, and also another tree there. But the good news is I replanted coconuts somewhere else, and I'm going to show you that. Out of all the coconut trees that I planted, I got coconuts off all of them except this one. Now the one I planted here was really, really tall, and it hadn't even gotten coconuts yet. And I know it would have, but the guy that got me the coconut said they were baby varieties or dwarf coconut trees. That one definitely wasn't. And the problem I had with this one was several things. Number one was the spot I thought was good because it was in the back corner of my yard, so it wasn't going to shade out any of my trees. But as you see there, I got some wires up there, and electrical wires. So it was getting so tall where it was getting close to those wires. So that was one concern. And if it got too much taller when I cut it down, the tree could have went into the wires, and that could have been a problem. Another issue was it was getting tall, and when I cut it, where was I going to cut it? And by the grace of our Creator, I cut it, and it fell down right here, and it didn't affect any of the trees or this shed or anything else. But so that was one of the ones I cut down. And let me show you my most recent one, which is my favorite coconut. It tasted wonderful. And next time I'll have to think about it. That's why I'm making this video, so hopefully you'll think about these things. Again, I have no issue with tall coconut trees, but you can't plant them so close to other trees and expect it not one day to have an issue. So let's go. Okay, so now we're on the side of my house, and this tree was my favorite tasting coconut that I possibly ever had in my life. And as you can see, I had to take it down. And I had to take it down in 2 pieces. It was very difficult because it was next to the house next door, and it was also, if it came straight down, it would have crushed my trees. But I have trees close to here, and you know, it was sad to take down, but it really kept growing. And again, I have a long pole saw here. Let me show you this. When you have to start using something like this to get coconuts down, you want to make sure there's no trees around it or houses around it, because then it's getting tall. So I love this thing. I use this often, but just gonna have to use it on other trees and not my own. So what I did was, after I had to take all these down, I'm left with no more coconut trees. So what I decided to do was plant more coconut trees, but more strategically this time. And I'm going to show you what I did. I'm in front of my house now. This is my street, and I'm planting the coconut trees outside my fence now. So no matter how big they get, I'm not planting anything around them. And when I cut them down, they'll fall out right on the grass. Now, if they go that way, they might hit something, so I'm going to have to be careful about that. But I'm going to try to source out young coconut trees this time. And my neighbor told me his plan, and what makes a lot of sense is, as a tree gets bigger, you just plant another one close to it. So when you cut that one out, another one's already growing. So that would have been a smart idea. But I just planted one here. I'm really happy with the spot. It's going to grow very nicely. And as you come here on the street, my neighbor, he just planted one right here in front of his house as well. And it's a great spot for one. He has several all along the street. So on this property, which I have here, I planted a coconut here, which is, again, going to go real nice. It's on the street. It's not going to affect anything. And then we keep walking here. Now the sun is coming from that direction. So I don't want to plant coconut trees here that is going to shade out the rest of my plants. But I come all the way to the end here. And then I have more coconut trees on the road here. And I have one in my yard that I'm going to take out because I don't like the spot for it. It's a little too close to my other trees. So that's what I did there. Now I want to show you something really cool. This is one of my neighbor's yards. And they have, this isn't a cool thing I was going to show, but this is still cool because they have coconuts. But they have 4 coconut trees. They're loaded with coconuts right now. And they just planted one in every corner. But again, there's no plants below it, so they don't have that same issue I had. Me and my other neighbor are really enthusiastic about growing coconuts and also growing other things. So we do have things like right under it and so on. But this is pretty cool, and I haven't ever seen anyone do this. I've seen this grow naturally, but I've never seen anyone do this on purpose. He planted 2 coconuts in one hole, and it seemed to have grown up, and they're not affecting each other. They might even be helping each other, but these trees are loaded, and it's looking great. Now he has some coconuts all the way in his backyard as well. He did cut at least one coconut for one of the same issues I'm talking about, which was too much shade on his other trees. So if you're doing what these people are doing, where that's all you're going to have is coconuts, and the trees can drop later on, no problem there. That's fine. No matter how big they get, you can always get the coconuts. They'll fall. It's not going to create a problem. But when you're a gardener like me and my neighbor here, we really have to be more strategic in where exactly we're planting the things we plant. So he has on the street here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the street. And we love coconut, so it's really great. Now, if you live somewhere where you can't grow a coconut tree, or you just don't want to go to the store and buy it or something, I'm going to put a link below the video right now. Coconuts, there's different varieties and different tastes of coconuts, but I have a friend that just started a company, and he gets fresh coconuts from Thailand, and the water is absolutely amazing, and I'll show you a little clip of that here. So most people around the country can't do this. You don't have the opportunity to have your own coconuts and your own coconut water. That's why this company I'm so excited about. I'm putting a link below the video. If you want to get fresh coconut water, you can now through this company. Okay. This is the freshest coconut water that I get because I own this coconut tree, and I'm just putting it in this bottle. Now, if I took this water right out of the coconut and froze it in a freezer and then sent it to you frozen, and you were able to drink this, it's the closest thing you get into the real thing. Not the stuff in the store. That's not the real deal. And then I'm going to take this coconut here. And people don't understand. Right in the coconut is fresh meat, coconut meat. If I took that meat and put it in a bag and froze it and sent it to you, that's what this company does. And that's why I'm so excited about them. The link is below the video. And also the coconut meat frozen, shipped and sent right to your front door. I'll put a link below this video to that if you want some of the amazing coconut and coconut meat. Now, the ones in the store anyway, they're not that fresh. They're pasteurized. They're just not good. But raw organic coconuts, if you could plant the tree, wonderful. But if not, check out the link in this company. And for me, people say, well, what are you going to do? You're not going to have coconuts now until your other trees grow. Well, check out this link. I'm still going to make sure I have a good supply of coconuts. My friend has a company. He ships fresh coconut water from Thailand. Organic coconut water, coconut jerky, and coconut meat. And I want you to taste this coconut water. This is fresh coconut water. Organic.
That's really nice. Yeah.
That's great. I don't know what variety it is, but it's so sweet.
It's sweet and it has sort of a nutty flavor too. It's a complex flavor.
Yeah, so you and I have coconut trees, but there are a lot of people that don't anywhere in the country, and they could order this through the mail. Isn't it amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. You're going to try some of this amazing coconut water?
Yep.
Go for
ready?
it. Yep.
Oh, it's so nice and sweet.
Okay, here's my neighbor Ram under his jackfruit tree. We're not in Thailand, we're here in South Florida. And he's an expert on coconuts. He's tasted many coconuts. And first we'll give him a cup of the coconut water that I just poured right out of the container from this company. Is that the sweetest coconut water?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yes, yes.
Unbelievable, really unbelievable.
Yeah.
I wish we could grow something like this here. I don't think we have this variety.
Amazing. So good.
I have about 7 coconut trees. Orgasmic.
Yeah. Such great water. But that's what I wanted to warn people about, is if you are going to plant coconuts, about where you plant them, and we can be more strategic about it. All right, if you have any comments or questions, post them below the video, and check out that link also below the video here to get organic coconut water shipped right to your front door. Until then, everybody, have a great day and keep growing.